What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be looking over the AFC North, talking about the Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and Ravens. Same rules as last time in the AFC West video. We are going to go in order of the team that finished last to the team that finished first in the division. I'm also not going to go over every single signing because, that would be way too long, and I'm trying to make this one at least shorter than the AFC West one because I want this one to be somewhat digestible. So we're going to go into the AFC North, and I am going to talk about some things with these free agency signings as they relate to the draft, I feel that they do. So anyways, let's get right down to business. We're going to start with the team that finished last in the division, which I certainly did not have at the start of my predictions, which was the Cleveland Browns. Talk about a disappointment season. They were supposed to be a Super Bowl contender in many people's eyes, mine included, and they came nowhere close to it. They didn't even make the playoffs. They didn't even get above 500. Somehow they finished last. They had a lot of injury concerns. They lost some players in the middle of the season. They had the whole debacle with Odell fall apart, so they needed to get an X-receiver, somebody who could really get in the sticks. So we'll start with Amari Cooper via the trade with Dallas. I'm surprised they got him for as cheap as they did, but you needed an X-receiver, and as much as I like Jarvis Landry, he's not an X-receiver, at least not like Odell is. Not that Amari Cooper is Odell, but they needed a big physical receiver to play. And I know Amari had some issues in Dallas, injury concerns, and his production wasn't always consistent. But, he's there. He plays a lot of games. He's going to be a pretty good wide receiver. He doesn't cause too much drama, which I think is just what Cleveland kind of wants right now. They just kind of want a quieter locker room as opposed to what they've had over the last few years. So, I'm okay with that. So, yeah, I like the Cooper trade. Then they had Jakeem Grant, which he'll be a good number 2, number 3 wide receiver. They lost Rashard Higgins, which I like him as a 2 or 3 receiver. I thought he was good in Cleveland. I'm fine with him. Jakeem Grant taking place. The Dolphins has basically had a ton of turnover in their wide receiver room, and we'll talk about that when we get to the East. And the Bears just shed a bunch of wide receivers, so, he'll be a decent slot receiver. And then I did put Jacoby Brissett on here, and that is going to lead us right into the Deshaun Watson thing, because, holy what a trade. They trade 3 first-round picks to the Houston Texans in exchange for Deshaun Watson. Actually, if I'm being correct here, they traded their 2022, 23, and 24 first-round picks, their 2023 third-round pick, and their 2022 and 24 fourth-round picks to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for literally just Deshaun Watson. And then they gave Deshaun $230 million fully guaranteed, which I think everybody had dropped to the floor because so far the only quarterback to ever get his full contract guaranteed was Kirk Cousins, and that was $84 million over 3 years. He beat the system. Deshaun hadn't even started his new contract, which was the extension he had signed back in Houston in 2020. He hadn't even started that yet. This would have been the first year. The Browns basically said, "Nah, we'll give you a new contract. We'll give you full $230 guaranteed," which, good Lord, I don't think anyone expected that to happen. And we can talk about the implications in terms of from a moral standpoint of Deshaun Watson and the whole case mess there. But from a pure football standpoint, this is big time boom or bust. That's how I see it. Like, either Deshaun Watson is going to be the Deshaun Watson we knew in Houston on the field, and he's going to absolutely tear it apart, and Cleveland's going to win a Super Bowl in 3 to 4 years. Or this is going to be the biggest free agent flop in NFL history. Like, there's no way around that. Deshaun's it's funny because back in 2017, during that draft, I thought the Browns were going to take Deshaun first overall. That made most sense to me. I'm surprised Deshaun fell as far as he did. Cleveland had 3 first-round picks, and they didn't go Deshaun with any of them. So I'm surprised they didn't do that. I thought they should have. It's funny. All of the time I thought Deshaun should have gone to the Browns, and yet now he's with the Browns, and I don't know how to feel about it. From a pure football standpoint, it's an upgrade at quarterback. I disagree big time how they handled the situation with Baker Mayfield. I thought that was absolutely terrible how they handled that situation. And this isn't even a Deshaun thing. This is just a pure Baker Mayfield thing, which that relates back to the Jacoby Brissett thing. If Deshaun Watson gets suspended, I imagine it's between 6 to 8 games, which is at least half the season. So you're going to need someone to start those 6 to 8 games and at least keep you at 4-4 if they don't, they don't have the bye week by week 4. Obviously, we haven't gotten the schedule yet. Obviously, keep you somewhere around 500 until Deshaun comes back, and that if he gets suspended, there's a chance he could. I don't know if he will. But you need someone to start those games, and Jacoby Brissett is fine as a starter. You're not, dead in the water if you have to play him, but they said there's a chance Baker Mayfield starts the season, which would be just the most awkward thing ever, and it would be, I just think they botched the situation so badly. You should have decided beforehand whether you had Deshaun or not, whether you were going to go forward with Baker or not. And I can get the argument that they were waiting to see what would happen with Deshaun. I understand that. But they burned the bridge with Baker, and they were lucky that Deshaun said yes to their offer, because if they didn't, then they would have been absolutely screwed going into this quarterback situation, because they have a top 15 pick. I don't know if they were planning to use it in this class. I certainly would not have. So the Browns kind of lucked out of a bad situation here, though they still handled it poorly. I think they gained a lot. They're certainly back in the competition here with the North. And that's coming alongside some key losses here. They're not going to have Jadeveon Clowney anymore. They're not going to have Rashad Higgins. They're not going to have Jarvis Landry. I mean, I've heard there's rumors that he and Odell have considered rejoining, but to me, that's just excess goods. In my opinion, if you don't want to re-sign them, that's totally fine. This is a pretty deep and underrated receiver class. I personally would just take that 11th overall pick, and I would take someone like maybe Garrett Wilson if he's still there, maybe Olave if he's still there, maybe someone underrated like Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson. You have a lot of options. A lot of options here. So I'm personally okay with them. Just, taking a receiver there. The big loss to me was J.C. Treater, which is a pretty good center, and good centers are hard to find in this league. And another option I could see is maybe they take Tyler Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa, with the 11th overall pick, though I have him going in my top 10, so they'd have to trade up for him, and I don't know if they can. It's a decent center class. It's not incredibly deep, not as deep as some other positions. The second rated center on my board is Donovan West out of ASU. Maybe they take him with the 11th overall pick. They have options. I just thought that was a big loss, losing a starting center, especially when for your offensive line to function, you need a starting center in this league. So I hope they find a decent replacement, whether it be through a signing or free agency, or the draft maybe. I don't know. So that's the Cleveland Browns to me. Very weird offseason. They made the big nuke move of the offseason, trading for Deshaun. They better hope it works out, or else they have just set themselves back decades. And now we're going to move on to the Baltimore Ravens. They had two huge signings to me. They did bring some re-signs back, but they were more depth or guys that were already there. The two big signings to me were Marcus Williams and Morgan Moses. Those were their two huge signings to me. I know some people are going to disagree with that, but those are the two signings that, to me, fill major holes. They needed holes on the O-line. Okay, you get Morgan Moses because Alejandro Villanueva really didn't work out, so you go get a decent tackle from the Jets, and then you get Marcus Williams, who's a decent safety from New Orleans. I'm perfectly fine with that. It's not exactly a game-changing one. Their biggest gain is obviously going to get back all their guys healthy, because I tell you right now, They suffered so many injuries last year, it was ridiculous. It was no wonder they couldn't finish down the stretch. Hard to do that when you can't really keep your team together. They brought back some okay players, some depth guys like Patrick Ricard, who's been a fullback there for pretty much forever. So, I'm fine with that. They lost some key pieces, more just due to age than anything else. Like Calais Campbell. I love Calais Campbell, but he's getting up there in age. I can understand why if he doesn't come back, or if he does come back, it's incredibly cheap. Jimmy Smith is a little puzzling to me because their secondary also fell apart big time last year due to injury. And, Smith has been a staple of that Ravens defense. But at the same time, he's 33. He's getting up there. How much longer he has, I personally don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if he came back on a cheap 1 to 2 year deal, though. Justin Houston, kind of the similar thing. Justin Houston has kind of bounced around the league at this point as he's kind of getting up there in age. He's getting near the end. LJ Fort, similar thing. He's going to be 33 after this season, so maybe they bring him back. I personally would, but I don't know about that. I'm shocked they let Latavius Murray go, though, because, one thing they lacked last year was running back depth, because even their depth running backs got injured. J.K. Dobbins gets hurt, then Gus Edwards gets injured, and then the guys behind them get injured to the point they have to just sign up some practice squad guys, and Murray was one of them. But the key for them this year is going to be staying healthy. My biggest issue with the Ravens, though, is that to me, they're not an elite team. They're not a team that's going to be able to go over the top. I don't see them as a true Super Bowl contender, even with Lamar at his best. And with Lamar at his best, they're at least a playoff team. But without Lamar, yeesh, this team needs to stay healthy. But I don't know if they did enough to be considered a true Super Bowl contender. We'll have to see through the draft. Maybe they make a big signing or draft. Maybe they make a big signing or trade after this video is posted. But yeah, right now I'm just not. I get it. Maybe they're just saying, you know what, we were really injured last year. We would have been fine otherwise, so we're just going to get everybody back healthy, and then we'll be right back in it. I understand that logic, but I cannot say that I think that that's going to solve all their problems. I can't say that. I personally think they need a lot more. That's just, of course, my opinion. So now we're going to move on to the second team. The team that somehow made the playoffs, even though they didn't deserve to make it, was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They lost a lot of key pieces. They gained some okay ones in the process. I can't say how much of them are going to replace what they lost. Let's talk about some of their key gains this offseason. The first one was they signed quarterback Mitch Trubisky out of Buffalo from free agency. To be fair, I did hear a lot of buzz that he was going to get a lot of attention this offseason. Part of me doesn't know if they really believe that learning or spending a year with Josh Allen and Brian Daboll was really that beneficial for him, or if they just saw how bad Justin Fields was under Matt Nagy and how bad the Chicago offense was as a whole with Matt Nagy, and they figured, you know what, Mitch Trubisky's a talented guy, he's a good kid, he's working hard, and you know, it maybe wasn't all his fault, which I've been saying that since 2019. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is an elite quarterback. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I'd say at best he is okay. But at the same time, I put a lot of the blame on Nagy, and I think that showed when Justin Fields had the same issues that Trubisky did in the offense. So, yeah, all that said, I think Mitch on a one-year deal is fine as a placeholder for Pittsburgh. I don't know if he's going to take them anywhere. If he did, that would be the best one-year turnaround and break the hearts of Chicago fans everywhere. If Mitch had a good year in Pittsburgh, and to be fair, I trust Tomlin's coaching staff, it just feels like the Steelers did not have a plan at quarterback for life after Ben, or the plans that they didn't work out. They drafted Mason Rudolph in the second round of the 2018 draft, and he really has kind of played himself out of the starter conversation. I think he's proven he's not their long-term future. I don't think they have any faith in Dwayne Haskins, though they did bring him back on a one-year deal. I don't know if they plan to have a competition between Haskins and Mitch. I don't know how that would go personally. I would think Trubisky wins it. I think Trubisky's the starter next year. Maybe they draft somebody. I don't know what their plans are here. But if they do draft somebody, I would personally not have it be a quarterback. I would take a tackle, which they did get a decent guard out of this. They ended up getting James Daniels, a guard out of Chicago, which he really was like the one bright spot on a very, very bad offensive line in Chicago. And if there's anything Pittsburgh desperately needed to upgrade, it was their O-line. They had a bad offensive line last year. Like, it explains why Najee Harris couldn't do much and why Ben just kept getting sacked over and over. I think they addressed some okay parts on the line. They bring back Okafor. No idea what they're going to do. I would take a tackle personally with their pick. They're picking at 20. I would still take a tackle. It's a pretty deep class. I think they need to address that. Like, what good is Najee Harris if you don't have a line to run and a line to run behind, and Mitch will have to run for his life every time if you can't protect him. So I would take a tackle personally. Hold off till next year, see how Trubisky does personally. That's just my opinion. They did get a pretty underrated signing. They got Miles Jack out of Jacksonville. I like that signing because to me that addresses a huge issue. It addresses the fact that they needed a middle linebacker. I think Devin Bush is okay at times, but I don't know if he's become the true anchor of the defense that they expected him to become. So, and Joe Schobert didn't work out, so you bring back Miles Jack, who's, in my opinion, he's underrated. I don't know why Jacksonville let him go. He's an underrated linebacker, so I think that's a big add for this Pittsburgh defense. Levi Wallace out of Buffalo, that's a really good signing for me. I thought Wallace is an underrated corner, too. I think he's going to do great in Pittsburgh, especially with Mike Tomlin coaching him. I think they got some key adds to the defense. They do have two big free agents pending. One will be Joe Hayden. Won't be surprised if they don't bring him back. I mean, Hayden's a freaking warrior. The dude's been around the league forever, and he's played a lot of good football. But he's going to be 33 in a couple of weeks. So I don't know. My opinion, probably just be a one-year deal. If maybe two at most if they decide he comes back. Terrell Edmonds, he's had an up and down tenure in Pittsburgh, and they took him in the first round in 2018. I don't know if they bring him back. Maybe. I think they will, but I'm surprised that it got to this point. He's just kind of had an up and down tenure. There's a chance he may not come back. So, yeah, that'd be a free agent flop if he didn't come back. In terms of key losses, Eric Ebron really didn't work out in Pittsburgh, so he's just gone, and that leaves a void at tight end. But at the same time, Pat Freiermuth seems fine to fill in, who they drafted last year. I think he'll fill in just fine. Schobert, obviously, I mentioned him, but his void will be filled just fine by Miles Jack. James Washington and Juju Smith-Schuster, not surprised they're gone either. They were kind of excess goods, but now this receiving core is a little bit bare. Deontay Johnson has a catching problem, and Claypool's going to be the undisputed number one. They got a decent number two. I don't know, maybe they draft a wide receiver in the second round. They seem to have a lot of success with taking second, third round wide receivers, and they make a killing off of that. So, I think they'll be fine. To me, it all depends on Trubisky, how he plays, and I'm all rooting for him to have a good year because, I just like to see if he can do it again. But they're still going to have tough competition because now we're finally back at the division winner and the defending AFC champions, the surprise team that nobody saw coming, which was the Cincinnati Bengals. I was worried about them this offseason. I was afraid they would stand back and not do anything. I was very, very wrong, and I was pleasantly surprised. They knew their biggest issue was offensive line, and they said, fine, to hell with it. We'll give Joe a new line. We'll get him a new offensive line, and they could probably draft a tackle in a deep class, and I think they'll be fine. First big signing, they get Alex Kappa out of Tampa Bay. They had some sheddings on the offensive line, and the Bengals reaped the rewards. Kappa's a good guard. He protected Brady a good long time. Kappa's a good signing for me. He'll do a much better job in the interior line than some of the guys they had previously. Then they get the big scoop. They get La'el Collins, who Dallas just had to let go for nothing, and the Bengals pounced. And man, to have him protecting Joe Burrow, this line is going to be much improved. Then you had Ted Karras, the center out of New England. What a signing, man. That offensive line looks so much better now. I would be interested to see if they bring back Riley Reif, who they signed last offseason. Maybe they're ready for Jackson Carman to take in the step at right tackle, who they drafted last year. But to me, Jonah Williams, so you have Jonah Williams at left tackle. You're going to probably put Kappa at left guard. You're going to have Karras at center. You put Collins at right tackle. Maybe stick with a guy like Quinton Spain, who I think is decent as a guard at right guard, and it's a pretty formidable line. It looks way better. They added Hayden Hurst, who they lost CJ Uzoma, which that was a huge loss to me, to the Jets, but bravo for the Jets. Then they lost Larry Ogunjobi, who would hurt worse if BJ Hill didn't look so damn good in the playoffs. And then you had DJ Reader, and that run defense still looks really good to me. Hayden Hurst, to me, is going to be an underrated signing. I think he'll be a good depth player with Joe Burrow in an already loaded receiving core. Still waiting for the word on Trey Hopkins. He was their starting center for the last few years, but obviously with signing Ted Karras, there's a chance that he'll be labeled as excess goods and they don't have a need for him anymore. Maybe they bring him back as a guard, but it really feels like Hopkins was going to be the odd man out based on their signings. Then Trey Waynes. They brought back Eli Apple, which I'm a little surprised by, but Trey Waynes, I'll be interested to see if they bring him back. And what was a decent secondary last year. They franchise tagged Jesse Bates. I hope they pay him because he and Von Bell made quite the duo together. But I thought the Bengals had quietly one of the smarter off seasons. They saw their biggest issue and they were aggressive in fixing it. Don't be surprised if they just win the North next year because they're already my pick to win it. I think the Bengals are going to get much better. Hopefully they draft correctly. Like this Bengals front office, I've been saying it for a long time. They deserve more credit than they get. This isn't the same Bengals that Carson Palmer complained about and continues to complain about. This isn't the same cheap old Bengals. Like they spent this offseason. They knew what their issue was and they said, fine, we're not going to let Joe Burrow die again. We were this close. Let's go get it again. They were determined and I hope they get it this time. Like I would love for the Bengals to finally kill that narrative. But yeah, that's going to do it for the AFC North. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to do the AFC East next, and what an offseason for the AFC East, huh? Particularly in Miami and Buffalo. We're going to talk about them a lot. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Look out in the next few days for the AFC East. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and until then, I'll see you guys later.